Hello, I'm Pete Maxwell. I work for Brit Cycling, based here at the Manchester Velodrome. Basically, I did a degree in press communications at Central Lancashire from 2005 to 2008, and then my career from then really has progressed quite slowly. It's been a bit of a challenge. First of all, I went to Germany to work for Adidas for 6 months, and then I came back and searched for a job, which isn't always the easiest thing to do. And I was quite focused on progressing from my course into the real world, really. So working in public relations now is sort of where I wanted to get to. And it's not been easy, and there's always challenges along the way, but I think it's important to just keep going and maintain a sort of determination, really. And working in Manchester is absolutely brilliant as well. I mean, it's from my perspective, working Brit Cycling, it's the centre of sport for our sport, certainly. And as you can see, we've got some GB athletes here training behind us, so there's a bit of glam to it as well. But as a city, it's fantastic. I mean, as students, you all know, fantastic social life. But that expands when you go into the real world. I mean, I've got friends here, so I have a good social life outside of work. It's easily available to commute in as well. I go on my bike, so I would advise you that that's something that you should all do. The work-to-life balance is brilliant in the city. I'm personally from the countryside, so going back to the countryside is sometimes nice from the buzz of the city as well. But I think Manchester's a great place to work. Everyone talks about moving to London, but for me and Brit Cycling, working here is a real chance for progression. And it's sort of a mix of proactive and reactive public relations, which basically means that one day I might just be responding to a media inquiry, or I might be setting up an interview with the chief executive. I write a various number of documents, whether that's sub-editing, an annual report, a racing calendar. We've just had the Manchester Track World Cup here, where I basically was in charge of looking after the media centre and all the journalists in that, setting up a number of interviews with the athletes and with staff, and basically generating general interest, which is what PR is all about. There's scope for going in different ways, but eventually I think hopefully at Brit Cycling, which is going to stay in Manchester for a number of years, I could maybe be a PR manager by the time the Olympics come round in 2012. So even though I don't personally live in the city centre of Manchester, it's great because I live just about 25 minutes away, which gives me the option to commute either on my bike or get a bus into the city centre and then to work, or in the car. I think the biggest difference between obviously working in-house and doing public relations and doing it for an agency is that for an agency you have a various number of clients, whereas my job is very much focused on Brit Cycling and I work on sport, recreation and events, whereas we have a GB specific PR person here who looks after everything to do with the GB cycling team. So anything to do with the chief executive's job, the sport role in terms of the various disciplines I'll be working on, and also the event PR side, where I'll sort of run a lot of proactive public relations for getting stories about the event and generating news coverage for the actual events, where I think an agency usually provide a very detailed brief. So if you work for an agency, your client will give you a brief and you have to sort of stick to that, whereas and you'll have about 5 of them for a different time. So it's very sort of up to the sort of person that you are, I think, as to whether you prefer to work agency PR or in-house PR. I think the biggest piece of advice as a postgraduate really is just there's 2 major things that are important. I think that's be prepared to do anything, and when you put your CV together, really try and incorporate into that something that's a bit different to what the rest will have. So that might be a bit of unpaid work experience, that might be some travelling which might be related to something you want to do in terms of your job at a later date. And then I think one of the other biggest pieces of advice is, and I've done it myself, is not to make any spelling mistakes on your CV. To prospective employers, it's very silly if you've made a spelling mistake. But yeah, just keep being focused, be determined, be prepared to do anything, and you'll get to where you want to be.